Let's learn some advanced C1 phrases to help you build your vocabulary. And first and foremost, I would like to begin with the phrase first and foremost. So this just means most importantly or more than anything else. And this is an introductory phrase that you may often hear if somebody's giving a presentation or a speech and they're talking about several things that may be important. So if we're just talking about this lesson and how this is going to work, I would tell you, first and foremost, I am going to talk about the meaning of these different phrases, and then I will give you some context so you can understand how the phrases are used. And finally, we'll talk about the pronunciation, and I'll teach you how to say them correctly, just like a native speaker would say these phrases. So let's just move into that and talk about the pronunciation. And the first thing that I'd like to point out is the word and is going to get reduced to just N, and this is quite common in spoken English. The other thing that is going on is linking. This occurs when the final sound of one word is a consonant. It may get linked to the beginning vowel sound of the next word. So we can link that final consonant sound in first with that beginning vowel sound when I reduce it and just say N, and it's going to sound like first in. First and foremost. All right, just listen to it. If I were to, talk about myself. First and foremost, I am an English teacher, and then after that, maybe I guess I would say I'm a YouTuber. Or if we're talking about achieving English fluency, and I say, first and foremost, you need to build your vocabulary, all right? That's the most important thing, and then go on to talk about other things that are also important. And if you are someone who enjoys building your vocabulary, well, please subscribe, turn on notifications. That way I can become your teacher. My name is Wes. The channel is Interactive English. It's all about trying to help you reach your fluency goals. Let's continue, and I'm going to get straight to the point. I'm not going to beat around the bush, which happens to be the next phrase that I want to teach you, to beat around the bush. This just means to avoid talking about what's most important. And often you may hear people use this phrase to describe what someone else is doing. He's always beating around the bush, or she tends to beat around the bush. People may often use this phrase if they're telling someone not to avoid a certain topic. Don't beat around the bush.
All right, let's not beat around the bush.
Bess, let's not beat around the bush.
Don't beat around the bush, Leonard. You don't want me here. Just say the word and I'll leave.
Could have beaten around the bush a little.
When pronouncing this phrase, and this is more about the American accent because I am from the United States, that final T in beat, it comes between two vowel sounds. So I am going to pronounce this as a flap T, which is going to sound more like a soft D. And then I can link that flap T with the vowel sound in around. Beat around the bush. And that is a weak the because it comes before a consonant sound. So you would say this with that schwa, the. Beat around the bush. Hey, don't beat around the bush. The next best thing. This is our next phrase. And it refers to the thing that is best if you cannot have or do the thing that you really want. And you would really say that something is the next best thing. So probably you're talking about the thing that you really want to do, what you really want, but you can't have it. So you'd say, oh, well, this is the next best thing. I wanted some ice cream, but they didn't have any. So I got some cake, which is the next best thing. For pronunciation, once again, we're going to use a weak the with that schwa sound. But most importantly, I want to talk to you about elision. And this is when sounds may get removed because the final T in next and the final T in best are going to elide. And this often happens with the T when it comes between two consonant sounds. The next best thing. The next best thing. You don't really hear that T. It's almost like it's muted. And, when it comes to building your vocabulary, you really need to practice. And of course, I think it would be wonderful if you're able to practice speaking English every single day. However, I realize that's not always possible, but If you would like to join my speaking course, that is the next best thing. I want to quickly tell you about it right now. First and foremost, the course is all about helping you speak confidently, speak clearly, and speak naturally. This course is for intermediate to advanced speakers of English, and if you're interested, check out the link down in the description and you will find a special discount just for you. So I don't want to beat around the bush. Let me tell you what the course involves. Each week there is a different speaking topic. At the beginning of each lesson, we'll talk about pronunciation or connected speech. You will learn vocabulary related to that topic and then practice using the words and phrases with engaging speaking activities. I'll also teach you some of the language nuances, like when to use certain words and phrases. And there are pronunciation video lessons included in the course. So click on that link down in the description if you'd like to sign up or learn more. And I just hope to speak to you soon. Because achieving English fluency, it's something that you need to put in a lot of hard work. It's one of those things that's easier said than done. And that's the next C1 phrase that I want to teach you. Easier said than done. So this phrase pretty much means what it says. It's used when someone says something that may seem like a good idea, but it's just really difficult to do. And often it's used as a standalone statement. A person may say something that's a good idea, but difficult, and another person may say, well, easier said than done. So let's practice this right now. I am going to say something, and I just want you to say, easier said than done. One day, I am going to hike Mount Kilimanjaro. In the future, I'd like to learn how to fly a plane. I really hope this video gets 25,000 likes. Okay, and this is something that you could actually help with. Go ahead, hit that like button. Let's try to make it happen. So when you pronounce this phrase, I think it's pretty straightforward. There is some co-articulation going on. This is when you have some overlapping sounds, and it allows us to link words together. So really, we're just moving from the final sound of one word right in to the beginning sound of the next word. So said ends with that final d sound. Your tongue is at the top part of your mouth behind your front teeth, and you're going to release right into that voice th, and then. Said then. Now that final n sound, and then once again your tongue is at the top behind your front teeth, but now you're going to release right into that d sound in done. Said then done. Pronouncing this phrase is easier said than done. Then we have the phrase to have an ear for something, and this just refers to someone who is good at hearing, repeating, and understanding sounds. And often you're talking about either music or language. So you're really just commenting on either your ability or someone else's ability when it comes to sounds. And I'm trying to think of an example, but this is not a phrase that I would use to describe myself, but I do have some videos so you can hear how this phrase is used in context.
Some people are born to sit by a river. Some have an ear for music. Some are artists.
I have an ear for accents.
I've lost my accent entirely.
I have an ear for that as well.
It's Lakme, actually.
Nah, that's British Airways. Anyway, I have an ear for accents.
For pronunciation, linking is going to occur. You have the three words, have and ear. We can link them together, those final consonant sounds, with the beginning vowel sound. Have an ear. It's almost like we're taking that consonant sound and moving it over to the next syllable. Have an ear. Have an ear for something. Then we have behind the times. This means, well, not fashionable or modern. And really, it does have a negative connotation if you are saying that someone or something is behind the times. It's like, look, you're late to the party. You should have changed years ago. You're behind the times. In order to show you how this phrase is used in context, I have some news headlines for you. Canadian TikToker slammed for behind the times video. Help out your wife. In the wake of ChatGPT, Google is worried it's behind the times. 10 video games that are painfully behind the times. When pronouncing this phrase, keep in mind elision may occur. Remember, this is when sounds may get removed. But in this case, I'm talking about that D in behind. It's going to elide because it comes between two consonant sounds. Behind the times. And yes, we're going to use that weak the once again with that schwa sound. Behind the times. I've heard people use this phrase to talk about me and say, hey, Wes, you're a little behind the times when it comes to new technology. Yes, I'm behind the times. Then there's down to earth, which is a pretty common adjective phrase that means practical, realistic, reasonable, friendly. Those are all great adjectives. So this really does have a positive connotation, and often I think you may use this to describe a person. I think my father is a down-to-earth person. I like to think that I am down to earth. If you feel like you are down to earth, let me know down in the comments. The only thing I want to say about pronunciation has to do with the word to, which actually has two accepted pronunciations. When stressed, it sounds like, well, just like I said, to. When unstressed, it may sound like it has that schwa sound, like ta. It's unstressed, it's very soft, but you would often hear it when people say this phrase, down to earth, down to earth. Just listen for it.
She's really nice. Funny. Down to earth.
You and Regis Philbin?
Awesome, right? Surprisingly down-to-earth guy, and definitely not the picture I meant to show you.
You're a very special girl, Irene. Look at you. You're just so down to earth.
She's nice, you know. She's down to earth and mature.
Face the music. This means to accept criticism or punishment for something you have done. Maybe you made a mistake, you did something wrong, you have to tell others, so you could say, yeah, I have to face the music. If I told you, oh gosh, I broke my wife's favorite mug, she's gonna be upset. I can't lie about it, so I'm gonna have to face the music. Or maybe you'll hear people use this phrase when giving advice to someone else, telling them, look, you need to be honest about what happened, you need to take responsibility, you have to face the music. When pronouncing this phrase, it's pretty simple and straightforward. Just keep in mind you're going to use that weak the with the schwa sound. Face the music. Have you ever had to face the music? Then we have the phrase, have had enough. And I say it like that on purpose because it means you want something to stop because it's just really annoying you and bothering you. And I want you to think about the grammar because we're talking about the present perfect. Have had. Something annoying started in the past, it has a relationship with the present, and it's just like you hit your breaking point and you say, I've had enough. And generally when somebody says this phrase, they probably would use a lot of emotion because they may be upset.
We have had enough.
I have had enough.
I have had enough.
I have had enough of it.
Yeah, a lot of emotion with this one. When you pronounce this phrase, there is some linking that may occur. That final consonant sound in had may get linked with the beginning vowel sound in enough. Had enough. I've had enough. Then there's to make ends meet, and this means to have just enough money to buy the things that you need. And really this idiom is associated with hardship and difficulty, and there are some useful collocations that you can use with this phrase to give it a little bit of emphasis, like the verb struggle, to struggle to make ends meet, or the adverb barely, to barely make ends meet. And once again, with pronunciation, there is more linking that may occur. We can link the final k sound in make with the beginning vowel sound in ends, make ends, to make ends meet. Then there's the phrase go hand in hand with something, and this is when something is closely related to something else, especially when they happen at the same time or as a result of it. I could say this backpack has been designed to go hand in hand with that suitcase, and they're just closely related. Or wealth goes hand in hand with saving money. It's related as a result. For pronunciation, there are two things going on, linking and elision, both with those, well, the two hands that are in there. So we can link that final d in hand with the vowel sound in, hand in. And then the next hand, that final D elides. It comes between those two consonant sounds. So it's going to sound like to go hand in hand with. To go hand in hand with something. Just listen closely for those two things.
Look at you. Hand in hand with apes and women.
Nick must have seen that you were working hand in hand with the police.
Gee, Batman, I'm sorry.
Don't be silly.
Gotta love those old Batman clips. The next phrase is for the most part. And this just means mostly or usually. And this is an adverb phrase that you may find at the beginning, the middle, or the end of a statement. So perhaps right now you are thinking, for the most part, this vocabulary lesson was really helpful. Or this vocabulary lesson was, for the most part, really helpful. Or this vocabulary lesson was really helpful for the most part. So I just said the same thing, I just moved that adverb phrase around. When it comes to pronunciation, I want to point out two unstressed words, and I'm talking about the words for and the. So we've already talked about that unstressed weak the with the schwa, but for, when unstressed, it may sound a little more like for the most part. It allows us to say this phrase easily and quickly, for the most part. For the most part. Let's do a little review. So first and foremost, I really hope that you have, for the most part, enjoyed this video lesson, and I hope that you're not thinking, I've had enough, and that you're done. I would love it if you watched another video lesson, because, look, I'm going to be honest, I'm not going to beat around the bush. Achieving English fluency goes hand in hand with building vocabulary. And now that this lesson has come to an end, watching another video lesson would be the next best thing. And I know I've already asked you once, but I would appreciate it if you hit that like button if you've learned something new. It's easier said than done. Actually, that is pretty easy to do, but I just wanted to give you a little bit of review and so you could hear these phrases being used in context. That's all for now. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. So long.